Travis's awful diet is shown once more as we see him watching Palantine on the TV.
When we came up with our slogan, "We are the people," when I said, "Let the people rule," I felt that I was being somewhat overly optimistic. I must tell you that I am more optimistic now than ever before. The people are rising to the demands that I have made on them. The people are beginning to rule.
Now, to most people, hearing statements like this from a politician will be a reason to rejoice, but Travis perceives this much more threateningly. There's a sense of tension in the scene as the camera closes in on Palantine, as if pressuring Travis to act on his feelings. He thinks this because the idea of the people worries him. He has an innate hatred of people, and the thought that they are rising up in Travis's eyes is something that he never wants to see.
I know it will continue at my alley, and I know it will rise to an unprecedented swell in November.
Travis drives past the Palantine officers to see that Betsy isn't there. Betsy has moved on while Travis hasn't, the off-duty sign on his taxi showing just how far his obsession has gone. Travis once more is looking to obtain the unobtainable, and is creating situations that are damaging for himself. Travis is so consumed by his own world, and it's a world of self-hatred. Travis is aimlessly driving around the streets looking for something to arrive in his life to give it what he calls a sense of purpose. And miraculously, he finds it. Travis recognises Iris from his previous encounter, and immediately sees her as someone that needs to be saved from the streets. He's found his motive. He follows her with a deep stare, yet even in his fanatical look, he can't help but turn his eyes to watch the more ruthless sides of the world. He continues to follow Iris before driving off to hatch a plan. Travis feels as though he has to do something to help Iris. As his mind races, he doesn't know if he's doing it for her or for himself.
Loneliness has followed me my whole life, everywhere. Bars and cars, sidewalks, stores, everywhere. There's no escape. God's a lonely man.
His voiceover suggests that he hates his loneliness, yet he's still the cause of it. He has enough money at this point to cut his hours, but we know that he won't. In his voiceover, Travis says this:
The days move along with regularity, over and over. One day indistinguishable from the next. A long, continuous chain. And suddenly, there is a change.
Travis is now fully committed to act on his impulses. His emotions have been brewing so much that they are on the verge of spilling out onto the streets. You probably noticed too in this scene the organised poster on Travis's wall, which he mentioned on his date with Betsy.
I should get one of those signs that says one of these days I'm going to get organised.
Not only does this show how obscure Travis's focus is and how peculiar his mind works, but it shows Travis's loathing of himself, that he would keep this up as a constant reminder of the woman he can't have. The next scene is Travis's interaction with Easy Andy, a black market salesman.
Hey Travis, this here's Easy Andy. He's a traveling salesman.
How you doing, Travis?
The deal takes place in a hotel room. Travis is after a gun and requests a .44 Magnum, the same weapon that the stranger in his taxi said he would use.
You got a .44 Magnum?
It's an expensive weapon.
I'm gonna kill her with a .44 Magnum pistol.
Showing us that Travis was inspired by that man, and has mimicked him in taking the violent route as the solution to his problems. This scene is much more calming and relaxing than most other scenes thus far. The guns are shot in an attractive manner, showing us the allure that they have to Travis. The scene still holds a drab colour scheme and has an air of cynicism, but the sense of tranquility in the scene tells us that Travis feels at home when fraternising with criminals, which again is another one of Travis's contradictions. He wants to clean the streets, yet he deals with criminals. It's also in the scene that we see the next in the sequence of overhead shots. Travis picks up a gun and points out the window to the New York skyline. He would point it at the head of the city if he could. He moves the gun to point it towards what looks to be two old women.
Some of these guns are like toys.
This is Travis's enemy, the people. It no longer matters where they're from. Travis is seeking to destroy innocence, civility, society, anything that he's not a part of. He takes the entire case from Easy Andy and leaves.
Crystal meth. I can get you crystal meth. Nitrous oxide. How about that? How about a Cadillac? I get you a brand new Cadillac with the pink slip for $2 grand.
We now see a montage of Travis preparing himself. He has the weapons and now believes that he must get in shape to carry out whatever plan he has in mind. He wants to improve his body, yet sticks to his awful diet and popping pills. Travis's contradictions set himself up for failure, and this carries on the pattern of self-hatred. During this montage, Travis yet again is at the porn theatre. However, his stare here is a much more hateful one than last time. Travis moves his finger to sporadically block his vision, as for his sake, averting his eyes and removing himself from these situations would help him, yet he refuses to completely look away. Acting on a subconscious level, he blames their perversions and not his own, pointing his finger directly at them. During this voiceover, Travis's subconscious feelings become stronger, and for one of the few times in the film, he actually admits a truth.
The idea had been growing in my brain for some time.
He's allowed these feelings to grow, and now they're about to be exposed to the world. It's here we see Travis performing the most intense parts of his preparation. We first see Travis in his apartment, pointing his gun towards us with the gun out of focus. This could very well be a signifier that Travis is not someone we should admire, as he has only contempt for us. The out-of-focus gun takes the violent associations away from it, showing that Travis is not fully in tune with this world, as he can't foresee the consequences that this behaviour may have. Travis's preparations become very much like a ritual. There's a certain fetishistic manner in which these scenes are shot. There's a determined precision of his work. He's become obsessed once more and remains trapped inside his own mind. He assembles a plan in the absolute silence of his own world. He can't see his own isolation, as he sees himself as a revolutionary, about to leave his mark on the world. The next scene takes place at a rally for Charles Palantine. This entire scene shows us what Travis thinks is very different to how he acts, a dueling force inside of Travis. He's unable to ingratiate himself in the normal world. He can't even act convincingly that he belongs. An authority figure catches him off guard, and he grows more anxious.
Just here, they were very, very
Suspicious.
yeah.
Travis realises here that when he encounters real power, someone who's not willing to compromise for Travis, he's not as powerful or as important as he'd like to think. To amend this in his mind, he needs to show weakness within the Secret Service agent and therefore continues his flood of lies.
My name is Henry Krinkle, Krinkle.
Travis deems the agent falling for this as a weakness. Travis was clearly intending to do something drastic here, as we can see the guns bulging underneath his coat, and notice that when he shakes the hand of the Secret Service agent, he uses his left hand, most likely so he doesn't see the gun on his right. Travis returns to his apartment to polish off his performance, as he knows that he needs to be more assertive. As he prepares, we see unarguably the most famous scene of the film.
You talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me?
The entire purpose of this scene is to show what's going on within Travis's head, as what was simply part of his subconscious now rises to the premise of his being. We've mentioned numerous times about how Travis is the cause for his own downfall, about how he puts himself in places that he shouldn't. Well, this is just another instance of that. Travis is having a false argument with himself, simply to convince himself that this is going to be something that he'll encounter in the outside world.
Well, I'm the only one here.
Travis is the only one here. He's completely ostracised himself from modern society and blames them as opposed to himself. These feuds that he's having in the mirror is Travis antagonising Travis, and the threats are his own illusions acting up once again. What many people don't notice about this scene is that the single of Travis is actually shot in the mirror. The mole on De Niro's face is on the opposite side, and the gun is in the wrong sleeve. This is showing that Travis's mental state is slowly becoming more imbalanced. Scorsese emphasises this unnatural feel by proceeding to break the 180-degree rule here, immediately followed by the 30-degree rule here.
Anymore, who would not let... Listen, you fuckers, you screwheads.
The repeat edit is demonstrating that Travis's mind is becoming more and more fragmented. As he becomes more consumed by it, the smaller his world becomes. His scrolling diary entry ends.
Here is...
This sentence is unfinished, as there is no conclusion for Travis. He has no great plan. This is possibly an indication that he knows that his legacy is going to be left in the hands of the public, which by the end of the film is correct. Travis re-enters the normal world to the sound of screams.
You're dead.
At the store, Travis once again displays that contradiction of getting into shape as we see him buying junk food. A robbery takes place off screen with the thief unaware that Travis is there.
Let's go. Let's
Okay,
go.
man,
Give me the
don't
goddamn
shoot.
cash. Come
I'm
on.
getting it, man.
Stop taking so long. Come on. Let me have it. Give me the bread. This all you got?
That's
Reach
it.
in your sock and get the rest.
Travis doesn't hesitate at this point. The thief happens to be black, and so he becomes everything that Travis hates about society. He becomes the pimps, the group of youths. Travis saw minorities on a lower rung than him on the social ladder, and so he forced his negative emotions on them.
Reach in your sock. You got more bread.
That's it, man.
Give me the rest of the fucking bread.
This is Travis's first kill, and to him it's a revelation, showing that he does have the ability to act on his thoughts.
The fifth motherfucker this year. Everybody that's a mouth. Everybody that's a mouth.
In the next shot while watching TV, Travis aims his gun directly at it, and in turn, at us. There's been a gradual progression of Travis's detest of humanity, shown by the aiming of his gun. It's slowly but surely been getting closer and closer to us. But to Travis, it still remains out of focus. He can't comprehend the repercussions of his actions. Travis stares almost through his TV, and you can't help but think that the thoughts emanating from his mind are again racially fueled in this instance. He watches as other people dance as we return to the theme of relationships and community. Travis has a hatred of not only this, but other people's happiness in general. If he can't have it, no one can.
That morning flight, through the whispered promises and the changing light of the bed where we both lie, late for the sky.
The following scene takes place at another Palantine rally. Travis is off duty, and now we know that his entire existence is now based around finding a purpose and completing whatever mission he has etched in his mind. Travis watches Palantine speak, and through the framing of him, we see that Travis has dehumanized him in his mind. The slight glimpses of him on screen suggest that Travis sees him not as a person, but as a representation of everything he hates. Think about it. Palantine's slogan for his campaign has been "We are the people." Travis hates people. Palantine is the vessel that represents society to Travis, and so he wants to completely annihilate it. All these thoughts occur in his mind through his voiceover, of which he continues to tell more and more lies.
But the sensitive nature of my work for the government demands utmost secrecy.
However, his narration is interrupted by the real world.
Her name is Betsy, but I can tell you no more than that.
Hey, Gabby, you can't park here.
Whatever Travis chooses to do, the world will continue, with or without him. Back at Travis's apartment, a peculiar scene takes place, but my interpretation is that this is simply a metaphor for Travis's behaviour. Again, he watches a scene from a film that involves two people discussing relationships. Travis couldn't be more plagued by this notion if he tried. His entire existence has been based on pushing something too far until the inevitable happens. It becomes unfixable, and he is filled with negative emotions that he brought on himself.
Do this to me. I love him.
In this brief moment of reflection, Travis decides to find Iris. Travis waits in his taxi to meet Iris, under the ruse of being a client. As he waits yet again, all Travis is able to concentrate on is finding violence in the streets. He chose to park right next to this. Travis finds Iris, but first he has to get confirmation from her pimp, Sport.
Your name, Matthew? What's in action?
Officer, I swear I'm clean. I'm just waiting here for a friend.
This is another great scene because as Travis speaks with Sport, we realise that no matter whom Travis interacts with, he can't relate to them at all. Travis is just as strange here as he was with the Secret Service agent, too straight for the criminals and too weird for an everyday life. Sport sees that Travis is an outcast and teases him for it.
You're a funny guy. Well, looks are and everything. Go ahead, man, have a good time.
Travis continues to lie with who he is to Sport, claiming he's a cowboy. He's concealing his identity from Sport, even though he probably couldn't classify his own identity if he tried. And as we've seen Travis's contradictions through the movie, take a listen to this.
Well, take it or leave it. If you want to save yourself some money, don't fuck her. You should be back here every night for some more, man. She's 12 and a half years old. You ain't never had no pussy like that. You can do anything you want with her. You can come on her, fuck her in the mouth, fuck her in the ass, come on her face, man. She'll get your cock so hard, she'll make it explode. But no rough stuff.
Sport shows a contradiction himself, saying the vilest things imaginable about a young girl, only to follow it up with no rough stuff. Showing again that no matter who you are, we all to some degree share the same emotions as Travis, but how we deal with them is up to us. The way Travis deals with it is to make the stipulations of fitting in impossible, evidenced by this moment.
Catch you later, copper. What'd you say? I'll see you later, copper. I'm no cop, man.
Travis becomes more confrontational when being called a copper and refuses the notion. The same way he became agitated when Charlie T called him killer.
Bye, killer.
These two opposite presumptions offend Travis, as he doesn't associate himself with either of them, yet they couldn't possibly be more polarising references to a person, so my conclusion would be that no matter what you said to Travis, he was going to construe it in such a way that he'd find some threatening motive in it. This is amplified by the linking theme between both scenes, of the character aiming a gun at Travis, once more fueling his paranoid state. In the next scene, we get our first formal introduction with Iris. Iris treats Travis the same as any other client.
And that cigarette burns out, your time is up.
But it seems that Travis is only there to see what Iris is really about, and for once actually shows some moral sensibility.
What are you doing?
Don't you want to make it?
No, I don't want to make it. I want to help you.
He questions her more and more about her life, but Iris doesn't seem to care as much as he thought she would.
Yeah, but don't you want to go?
I can leave anytime I want to.
He begins to pace around the room trying to decide what he needs to do. Travis thought Iris was going to be what he needed to give his existence reason, but this doesn't seem to be the case. The camera moves a full 360 degrees in this shot, showing that even in the unstable world, Travis still brings his own instability. Now we come to a crucial point of the analysis, discussing the purpose of Iris. One of the reasons that I gave for analysing Taxi Driver chronologically was because a lot of what we see in the first part of the movie is reflected in the second part. In this case, Iris is the parallel of Betsy. They are both young blonde women that become the object of Travis's affection. Travis obsesses over Betsy as she is pure and thus needs saving from the world. He obsesses over Iris because she's been degraded and thus needs saving. He's again making the stipulations for his success impossible. He's creating these erroneous assumptions that both women don't belong in their world, when in fact they're actually better off in it. The impossibility of success is the same with his obsession of relationships. Travis causes sexual repression within himself, because even though I don't think that Travis is attracted to Iris, his characteristics seem to resemble that of the Madonna whore complex. We know nothing about Travis's sexual past. However, where there is desire, there is no love, and where there's love, there's no desire.
Damn, man! God damn it!
But Travis wants to meet Iris for another discussion at the diner. Here we see more parallels of Betsy and Iris, as this scene is an exact mirror image of the diner scene with Betsy. Whereas Travis was once more submissive, now he's more demanding. Travis continues to lie, claiming that Sport is a killer and that he called Iris names.
You know what he told me about you? He calling you names. He called you a little piece of chicken.
He doesn't mean that.
They continue their discussion as Iris asks Travis a vital question.
So what makes you so high and mighty? Will you tell me that? Didn't you ever try looking at your own eyeballs in the mirror?
If we remember in the interactions with Betsy, Travis referred to her eyes.
I saw in your eyes and I saw the way you carried yourself that you're not a happy person.
You know you have beautiful eyes?
What this line means is that even to a young girl like Iris, it's obvious that Travis is so devoured by his own mind that he's unable to turn his own views on himself and see just how low he's come. Alternatively, that line is also the only line the audience doesn't see Iris say, and neither does Travis.
Didn't you ever try looking at your own eyeballs in the mirror?
When it's uttered, he has his head down. Perhaps this is Travis's imagination yet again. These are his repressed thoughts buried inside of him. As the conversation continues, Travis mentions Iris leaving, to which she requests that Travis moves with her to a commune. Travis refuses.
I've never seen a commune before, but I don't know, I saw some pictures once in a magazine. It didn't look very clean.
This is simply because, again, the idea of a community of people frightens Travis, and he does what he's best at and lies to get out of it.
I don't go to places like that.
Oh, come on, why not?
Nah, I don't get along with people like that.
The lies continue to rack up, and Travis at this point probably believes them. Travis and Iris's conversation ends with Iris not really wanting to leave her life, and acknowledging the absurdity of Travis himself.
God, I don't know who's weirder, you or me.
Iris not wanting to leave is exemplified in the following scene. Interestingly enough, Travis is outside of Sport's building, therefore this is the only scene that he's not directly in. So bear in mind, as we've seen every other scene from the point of view of Travis, there's always the possibility that this is all inside his head. Iris dances with Sport, who she clearly has some sort of romantic relationship with. In the script for Taxi Driver, Paul Schrader describes Sport's dialogue as lines you'd expect to hear in a Barry White song.
You know how I feel about you. I depend on you. I'd be lost without you. Don't you ever forget that.
Everything about Sport is so cliched, and if this is in fact from Travis's perspective, what he sees is a young naive girl being coerced into this life. However, if this scene is the reality of the film, the picture being painted is that Iris is in fact safer with a criminal child abuser than with Travis. Sadly, this is what Iris wants. But this doesn't mean anything to Travis, as we will soon realise that his task is a selfish one. We cut to Travis at the shooting range with hate on his mind. We see him once more in a claustrophobic setting, moving further from the camera. He's descending into his own mind, into insanity, becoming a shadow in even darker shadows. Travis's final ritualistic preparation has religious connotations. First there's the polish representing church candles. The very primal imagery of fire in this scene suggests a purification of Travis, as he begins to cut ties with Betsy by burning the flowers, the last shred of any normalcy within him. It's not so much that he's moved on, but that he's been reborn. This sequence is essentially Travis's baptism. As he cleanses himself, he's prepared to die one way or another. Travis, in his eyes, is about to become a martyr.
Now I see it clearly. My whole life is pointed in one direction. I see that now. There never has been any choice for me.
It seems as though Travis is going to make his move at the final Palantine rally. We again only see Travis in small glimpses. We pan along a crowd of people before we recognise him. Even though we can't see their faces, Travis still manages to stand out as the intrinsically different character. The camera holds, building the tension. and just like how sudden Travis's emotions are revealed to the world, the camera suddenly cranks up and reveals to us the new Travis.
Today I say to you, we have reached the turning point.
The mohawk haircut was inspired from soldiers in Vietnam who before a suicidal mission would often shave their hair into mohawks. Again, Travis is positioned in such a way so that he's always stood out from the crowd. Here we see a man who has been, and always will be, on the fringes of society. We still see conflict in Travis, as we know that his plan is something drastic, and yet he's still willing to applaud Palantine. Palantine's speech ends, and he moves through the crowd as Travis approaches him. His face is contorted with varying emotions, both joy and pain. On a surface level, he's not sure as to why he's doing this. It hurts to do this. Well, that's the reason. We know that this is Travis's way of dying for a cause and giving himself reason to live, or more importantly, a reason to die, as well as to destroy society as his hatred for it has grown too great. But Travis is not in sync with how the world works. He thinks this was going to be an easy task. He was wrong. He fails.
I never saw him. I saw him run.
Travis needs to die for something. Anything. Only then can his life be given a purpose, whatever that purpose may be. So Travis decides to do something just as insane. In the conversation scene with Iris, as Travis left, he paid the old man the $20 bill he received from Sport. This served as a reminder to Travis that there was still evil out in the world. By giving the tainted money to the old man, Travis essentially transfers all its negative connotations to him too. Travis left knowing what his plan would be by foreshadowing it.
Come back anytime, cowboy. I will.
Travis at this point is operating solely on his emotions that at the beginning of the film he displayed only briefly. All of his hatred, his paranoia, now takes centre stage. He barrels down the street with a completely vacant look in his eyes. There's not a normal person in charge here any longer.
Hey, Sport, how you doing? Okay, my man. Where do I know you from, man? I don't know.
Travis has been previously anxious and apprehensive when approaching strangers and authority figures, but here, he shows none of that. All of the anxiety and imbalance explodes. The camera lingers from a distance as a voyeur. We watch as we know that it will be at this point that Travis finally takes action, something he's wanted to do for so long.
Suck on this.
Travis enters the building. The final shootout is shot very uncompromisingly on screen, as this is what Travis has been craving. He's been yearning for this since the beginning of the film. The truth is, he enjoys it. We watch Travis clumsily dispose of the people in the building, getting hit, dropping his weapon. Again, this was a task that Travis thought was going to be simple, and yet even in a room of child abusers, rapists and criminals, Travis is still shot in slow motion. The film is showing Travis to be the monster.
Don't shoot him!
Then directly in front of Iris, Travis takes his gun and attempts to kill himself. He fails. The fact that he was going to kill himself in front of Iris and leave her there shows that Travis was never doing this for her. She was just a lie so that Travis could convince himself that he was going to die with purpose. The truth is, Travis wanted to satisfy his urge to murder complete strangers that he inherently despises. The police slowly enter the room with Travis as he looks up at them and pulls the imaginary gun of his blood-soaked hand 3 times against his head. A symbol that he hoped to die in infamy through his 3 murders, and that deep down, he knew everything leading up to this was brought on himself. The overhead shot tracking through the building was the only shot written in the script. Paul Schrader described it as the Eye of God, as this is the movie's first real objective look at this insanity, breaking the trend of seeing things through the eyes of Travis. This overhead shot is the culmination of all the other overhead shots we've seen through the film. Travis taking the job, the bad diet and lifestyle, pursuit of a partner, using violence as a solution. Combining all of these shows that Travis brought this on himself. As a spectator, we now move away from Travis's perspective, as things are shown without being filtered by his own prejudice, and the camera slowly drifts out of the building. At the end of the film, we learn that Travis has been celebrated as a hero.
Dear Mr. Bickle, I can't say how happy Mrs. Steensma and I were to hear that you are well and recuperating.
Here we learn that every member of society has its own contradictions, the same as Wizard, Sport, and most importantly Travis. Because Travis killed one father figure instead of another, he's held up as a hero by the public. If his original plan was successful, he would have been shown as a villain. Travis just happened to kill the right people. It turns out that Travis survived, and all this public praise has done has fully convinced Travis that he was right all along. He in turn will have no remorse or regret of his actions. In one of the newspaper clippings, it says that Travis will be back at work as soon as possible. It's clear that Travis has not lost his old habits. He wants to return to the streets. He wants to be reminded of the scum that still thrives out there.
Like your wife. His wife is Miss New Jersey in 1957.
That's why the fleet has no spares.
Go by, listen.
The final scene begins with signs of promise. It looks as though for the first time, Travis has ingratiated himself within the normal world. His final fare turns out to be Betsy. Travis notices but doesn't respond until she does.
Hello, Travis.
Hello.
She's no longer the object of Travis's affection. He views her through his taxi mirror, as he has done with all of his enemies. At the end of the fare, we see that because of his new public perception, Betsy is willing to accept Travis into her world. This is Travis's final chance to leave his wretched one behind. It's the only opportunity for Travis to get a clean slate, all his sins wiped clear, and he will finally be given a purpose and no longer be God's lonely man.
How much was it?
But Travis refuses. He drives away as the street's imagery returns to the Chemtone look from the opening scene as things end the same way they began. Travis finally does what he's never done before and glimpses at his own eyeballs in the mirror. He doesn't like what he sees and turns the mirror away. Travis saw the monster inside of him and refuses to do anything about it. Any hope of Travis becoming part of our world drifts away along with him through the streets of New York. I don't think there's a better film that serves as a character study than Taxi Driver. Such a stark look at loneliness serves as a reminder that we're the ones in charge of our own destiny. Travis Bickle is an alternative version of all of us.
You may think that the pain you are going through is terribly unique, but it isn't. You know, I went through it, and the people who made this film with me know what it is, and hundreds of thousands of other young men out there know exactly what that pain is. And when they see this movie, they recognize it. And what you are recognizing is not something that is uniquely you. It is part of a pathology that we share. And one of the beauties of recognizing it is you realize you are not alone, and that you can see yourself in context. And so that experience of talking to that young man, made me realize that we in fact had created the real thing. That we had actually cut through and nailed a certain character in life.
We've all shared his anger, his isolation, his loss. But whereas he gives up hope that there exists something better, we have to learn that there is always something better. If we don't, we become the engineers of our own downfall. We become the taxi driver.